Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on our Thursday, April 24th Board of Education monthly business meeting. I invite you all to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. That's a big crowd. You guys almost were as spirited as the elementary school kids on Friday morning opening with the pledge there. Our first item of business is recognition of visitors, public comment. The Board of Education welcomes comments from the public. Each person wishing to speak is asked to speak into the microphone, identify themselves, and respectively limit their comments to 3 minutes. 2 opportunities to speak are available. 1 early in the meeting, which will be limited to 30 minutes, and 1 at the end of the meeting. Each speaker may address the board only once at both the opening and closing portions of the agenda. Please remember there will be no cross dialogue between speakers and between members of the board. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments and/or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. Before I open the microphone, I'm going to just answer a few questions, make a few comments from last meeting's public comment session. We updated our public comment policy a few years ago to hopefully make it a little more fulfilling for the public, that they could get some answers. And last week we had a lot of comments about the UPK program, so I just wanted to provide a little more information for those commenters. First, regarding the lottery process, we had a comment about keeping twins together. So in general, the lottery process, we're bound by New York State regulations. These requirements mean the lottery must be a strict lottery. There can be no preferences, no favoritism. There has to be full repayment for all external providers. There can be no vouchers. There cannot be any income-based or sliding scale models. And unfortunately, we are not permitted to offer any other preferences, even keeping twins together. Other districts are able to do so if they have a program in-house. Of course, we would love to keep twins together, so we recommend that you talk to your state senator and state representative, and hopefully, I think that would be a win, a very small tweak to a law, to keep twins together, at least in a lottery, that everybody could get on board with. Another comment that we had several commenters talk about was a flat fee model. Discussions between our UPK providers and the district over the last several months have already laid the groundwork for implementing a consistent flat fee beginning for the 25-26 school year. So very prescient on the part of the commenters at our last meeting. However, it's important to understand that this proposed rate will be higher than what Newburgh pays. If you take our current UPK budget and divide it by 137 seats, our current allotment from New York State, it simply doesn't cover the costs our providers are asking. Many of our providers have made it clear if they are not paid their full rate, they will not participate in our program. That's because they're confident they will fill those seats with private pay customers. And just for further information on that, Newburgh has 11 providers. However, 4 of those are in Newburgh district buildings, so they don't have costs relating to utilities, insurance, et cetera, as being in the building. 4 of those providers are nonprofits, and they obtain additional funding through grants. So that's 8 of the 11 providers are receiving extra funding or have a cost basis that's different than a traditional center-based provider. So only 3 of Newburgh's 11 are center-based. All of our providers are center-based, so that explains some of the reasons why our rate will be different than what Newburgh pays. Our goal here is to continue to offer spots at providers our parents trust, our administration has evaluated as the best fit for our children. And I just want to have everybody remember how far we have come. 3 years ago, 4 years ago? 3 years ago, we had 0 seats. Then we had 58. Then we had 80. Then we had 98. If this board votes to approve the proposed budget tonight to present to the community, which I expect that we will, and if the community approves that budget, we will be up to 118. The most available from New York State is 137. There's a clear path from 118 to 137, potentially as early as next year. So I just wanted to share some additional information on the UPK. With that, I will open the microphone for comment.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Facillo. I am a parent, educator, and advocate for children. I want to first thank the board members and our superintendent for all their commitment and dedication to our children and to the district. I wanted to first ask, as Mr. Creedingen just said, and thank you for that, by the way, that we continue to prioritize our children and vote for the additional 20 spaces. I did want to address the question that Christine and Tiffany brought up in the last meeting about will you guys have to pay or will the district have to pay for the empty spaces? And I did have an opportunity to speak to Donna Conklin of Windsor Academy, and she has advised that they personally would not charge. I do have that in an email, so if anyone would like that from me, and I think I'd send that to you too, Mr. Dade, that you guys can have that from her stating that she would not charge for any empty spaces. Secondly, I wanted to determine and discuss a little bit about a strategic plan for UPK. I think every year we kind of run into the same things, and I think everyone on the board can say that as well. We run into the issue of space and we run into the issue of budget. So I'd like to just start planning now for next year as well, talking about setting aside the funds that are needed and starting to address a strategy. So some thoughts I thought about were a UPK committee, created of parents, teachers, board members, and of course our superintendent that are meant to help this program continue to expand, to help providers come on, because we need more providers. As you know, we only have 4. I think having 5 or 6 would be much more beneficial. And finally, I really feel that we can be the difference in creating a strong foundation for our youngest learners, and I feel like it takes you guys and the difference to make that vote today to count for our children for tomorrow. Thank you.
Hi, I am Dr. Kate Esmazar, Cornwall resident, mom, and public education activist. I want to thank the board so much for Mr. Cregan's message at the beginning about using a flat rate going forward. That's something, as you all know, I've been pushing for. So I wanted to just take a step back and try to see the forest through the trees for a minute and kind of reflect on the last board meeting. And the question that I have is, what is the priority? Is the priority the taxpayers? Is the priority local businesses? Is the priority the children? As an educator, I hope that the priority is for our children. Based on the previous meetings, about an hour was spent discussing 0.5% of the funds for UPK and removing a security guard to pay for it. And I'm confident that the district made a recommendation for that security guard for a reason. And I know I, for one, would be interested in hearing that and making sure that they have that support. About 15 minutes was spent discussing excess funds that are capped at 4% and the reasonable possibility of what would happen if we exceed those excess funds. So 15 minutes on 4% of the budget and an hour on 0.5%. The goal of universal pre-kindergarten is to provide high-quality education for all children. It provides access to early intervention services for the children who need it. And this will substantially help the children who currently live in our district and do not have this access. If you're representing both the taxpayers and the children, then I want to encourage you to please vote for this 0.5% to provide as many children access to UPK as possible. At the next board meeting, I ask for 2 things to be reported on. You've already answered one of them, which is the possibility of using a flat rate. Wonderful. Number 2, providing parents transparency about the cost of before and after care and summer care prior to the ranking. When we're given a spot, we oftentimes don't know what the before and after care rates are going to be. When we're making the ranking, we don't know and can't make an informed choice, let alone what the hours are and how that impacts our work. I want to leave you with one question. when you vote on the budget tonight, I want you to ask yourselves, are you voting in the best interest of our children? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Timinia. I live in the town of Cornwall, and I moved up in 2006 from Staten Island, and it was kind of a shock to me because I went from paying one mortgage to almost paying two with the taxes up here. So that was a hardship. My wife at the time stayed home with the children for 7 years, so I was pretty much the breadwinner for the family. But my youngest daughter was later diagnosed with ADHD, and I believe that the first year that would have been spent in a well-organized pre-K would have identified that, and instead she probably went a year without ever being identified, and I pretty much went through hell with that. But like Kate was saying, early intervention to me is very important, and I think for that reason alone, amongst others, I think you should approve.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Hines, and I'm a math teacher at CCHS and the proud president of the Cornwall Central Teachers Association. While I'm normally the only one here at these meetings, tonight I invited a few of my members to join me because it's important to visually see how public schools truly do unite us as a community. I'm pleased to share that the district and association have reached a tentative agreement on our next contract. This marks a significant moment in the labor relations between the district and the CCTA. Next week, I'll present the agreement to my members ahead of our ratification vote and your vote. It's a change at that meeting without having to talk about the Triborough Amendment to the Taylor Law or how retroactive pay is a negotiable item. So how did we get here and not going down the same path we walked so many times before? Delay, animosity, mediation. And I'm not just referring to 3 or 4 years ago. This has been the culture of the district for decades. In speaking with some of my colleagues who've been teaching even before I entered the district as a student, they couldn't recall when we had a successor agreement in place before the current one expired. Last fall, I sincerely asked Superintendent Dade, what are we going to do differently? We both knew how the typical process played out and sat at the table downstairs and talked about exactly how bargaining would look. We needed a change. The association suggested 2 simple changes to our bargaining process, changes that we believed could lead to a more productive process, and they did. One was removing third parties from the table. Individuals who do not work in the district and who don't have to live with the reality of the proposals shouldn't be dominating the process, and this time they didn't. Number 2 was minimizing the time between bargaining sessions. With fewer parties involved, there were no scheduling games or delays, and instead of waiting months between meetings, we met nearly every week, a clear demonstration of our mutual commitment. At the table, we communicated, we listened, we shared, we explained, and we advocated. Yes, we disagreed, I think a lot, but we sought understanding. These 2 simple changes worked, and not just for the CCTA. The district extended our approach to when they bargained with our NYSET brothers and sisters in the clerical unit and with the admin unit. As a result, all 3 units have reached tentative agreements before our contracts expire on June 30th. Let's use these past 2 months as a springboard to change labor relations in this district forever. That goes to the association, district admin, and to every Board of Education from here on out. Once ratified and approved by the Board of Ed, that's 3 contracts down. But we have to acknowledge that 3 more contracts expire next year. Buildings and grounds, our NYSET paraprofessionals, food service. And the CCTA will be proudly standing along with these units as they bargain, expecting the same respect that was shown to us be extended to them. In May, the association is excited to get out and engage our community in support of the budget that you're expected to adopt tonight. I'm ready to mobilize the 280 plus members of our association, along with the hundreds and hundreds of NYSET members living within the CCSD, to get this budget across the finish line on May 20th. I've stood at these meetings before talking about how public schools unite us, and there's no better way to show your commitment to this district, our students in public education, than by voting yes on the budget tonight and again on May 20th. Thank you. I'm gonna let them go home. I'm gonna steal your line. They worked a really hard day today, so thank you guys for coming out. Go home, go see your kids and eat dinner.
Thank you, John.
Hello, I'm Brenda Wright. I'm an 8th grade math teacher at the middle school. When the Board of Ed Visitation Committee came to visit the CCMS back, I think it was January 17th, I had someone hand them one of my concerns, which has to do with the budget vote that's coming up. My concern is security. Just recently, we are required to wear green lanyards as an increase in security in our schools so that staff members can be easily recognized. Every year during the vote, we at CCMS rub shoulders and our students rub shoulders with the community members. They're walking next to us, they're walking out between us. It is not a secure environment. I have not heard from any response to my request for how security at the middle school is going to be handled this year. And although, Mr. Cregan, I thank you for responding to the thoughts that, or the concerns that were made last week. I would like an email response with how you are going to secure the middle school for this vote so that staff and students do not have to walk next to community members. I appreciate all your work in getting this budget together, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Roxanne Dupuis, and I'm the mom of a 3.5-year-old who got a UPK spot and another little one who will be hopefully going to UPK in a few years. I want to thank you for all of the work you've done, getting to this budget tonight, increasing the seats. And I just want to read a couple things that have already been said, mainly about transparency. We definitely need transparency around the rate paid to providers, and thank you for taking the steps towards a flat fee or a flat rate. We need to know the fees for parents for before and after school care and for summer care, because I think I said this last time, it's almost the price of daycare, so it's not really a truly UPK experience. And then also transparency in contracts to providers, decisions being made in who gets a contract and why people are turned down, and potentially considering bringing UPK in-house so that other things like twins getting spots can also be addressed at the same time. So with that, thank you, and thank you for supporting UPK and supporting our teachers.
Thank you. Do we have any other takers? All right, well, thank you everybody for your comments and joining us. We will move on to our next item of business, which is our student representative reports. So Madeline Larkin and Ava Rich, I yield to you.
Good evening, everyone. This is the good news for Willow. The character trait for April is sense of humor. Students at Willow Avenue are full of laughter as they share their jokes with each morning on the morning announcements. Our 3rd and 4th graders will be taking the New York State ELA assessment this week. They have worked extremely hard all school year, and we know what they will do best. We know that they will do their best, sorry. Kindergarten students are showing their math smarties. Number partners is their math theme. They learned how to make 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 using number pairs. Ask them to count, they are happy to show. Give us a snack as our counters, and off they will go. Spring is an exciting time of year for 1st graders. Students are becoming stronger readers every day and making it a great time to visit the local library. 2nd grade students have been working on independent research projects, making bottle biographies of famous Americans. Students visited the library to take a gallery walk and learn about these famous Americans. 3rd graders are reading Peter Pan and ELA and are practicing their reading skills by analyzing the characters and the plot. After each chapter, they are learning how to take notes by summarizing the chapter. Our fourth graders are beginning to prepare for their transition to middle school. Mrs. Palumbo came to visit our fourth graders before spring break. They are looking forward to visiting the middle school next week. Tuesday, April 22nd was Earth Day. Students at Willow Avenue will be celebrating with activities and participating in a day-long celebration of why it is important to be kind to the earth. And then for the Cornwall Elementary School, what a gorgeous start to spring. With the sunshine returning and the temperatures warming up, our students and staff have come back from spring break feeling refreshed and ready to dive into all the exciting things the rest of the year has in store. Our second grade students have been taking field trips to the Cornwall Historical Society. This tradition helps bring local history to life as the students explore artifacts, hear stories from the past, and make connections to their social studies curriculum. From learning about the area's early settlers to getting to create their own personal family tree, the students are always inspired by this trip and filled with curiosity. This month also marked a big milestone for our third and fourth graders as they completed the New York State English Language Arts exam on computers for the first time. While many students were understandably a bit nervous, their hard work and preparation truly paid off. They approached this challenging exam with confidence and focus, and we couldn't be more proud of the effort they put in. Looking ahead, we're getting excited for some of our favorite end-of-the-year events, including the fourth grade visit to CCMS, the kindergarten trip to the Bear Mountain Zoo, and of course, Field Day. There's so much to look forward to as we begin to wrap up another incredible year.
Okay, so this is the good news from COH. Congratulations to the cast and crew of Newsies Junior, which was held on March 28th and 29th. All of the young actors and actresses did a fantastic job and the audience was thoroughly entertained. Both performances were standing room only. Thank you to the many PTO volunteers who made the drama production possible. The first grade visited Black Rock Forest on April 21st. It was their second visit to Black Rock, where they reviewed hiking rules, how to read the trailblazes, and looked for evidence of animal presence while we hiked around the Upper Reservoir Educator Trail. It was a nice way to get back in the swing of things after spring break and enjoyed our planet on the eve of Earth Day. ELA state testing started on April 22nd and finished today, April 24th. The students put forth their best efforts, and the entire faculty and staff are very proud of how the children handled the challenge of taking their first computer-based state test. The testing went very smoothly with minimal disruption to the K-2 students. Math computer-based state testing will take place on May 6th and 7th. On April 22nd, the PTO hosted their annual garden cleanup activity for families after school. The volunteers helped to get the garden ready for the growing season by weeding, composting, and mulching. Throughout the spring season, the PTO is planning many activities for the students during the school day and at recess. We are looking forward to the fruits of their labor. This fourth grade student council has been busy preparing a school photo booth for the student body. Students will have the opportunity to show their school spirit and get their photos taken by the student council members during our morning arrival. Payment for having your photo taken is the promise to do 2 kind deeds throughout the day. Looking ahead, the PTO is hosting their annual talent show on Friday, April 25th, beginning at 6 p.m. in the COH auditorium. Come see the many talents of the students at COH. In the past, acts have been included a comedian, gymnast, dancers, and magicians. It should be a very entertaining evening.
And now the good news from the Cornwall Central Middle School. CCMS students have been working very hard to prepare for All County this weekend. The halls have been filled with music every day after school. Best of luck to all of our musicians and teachers. Have a great show. Mrs. Palumbo and Mrs. Burton are visiting all of the 4th grade classrooms to kick off our 5th grade transition and orientation program. CCMS is very excited to meet these eager and enthusiastic students when they come for a visit with their class. CCMS has been offering a wide variety of tutorials to provide support to students in a multitude of areas. These, in conjunction with our regular clubs and after-school activities program, allow most of our students to stay and enjoy time with their classmates, friends, and teachers. We are very excited. CCMS, along with all other schools, has switched over to Parent Square for notifications and information. We ask all of our parents to be sure to download the app for quick and easy access to all your CCSD news.
Okay, lastly, we have the high school good news. Our school put on an amazing performance of Once Upon a Mattress. The cast, crew, and everyone involved worked so hard, and it really paid off. The musical was such a huge success, and it was awesome to see so many talented students come together for such a fun show. Quarter 3 is officially over and we've started quarter 4. It's hard to believe how quickly the year is flying by, especially with me and Ava graduating in just 2 months. But now it's the time to finish strong as we head into the home stretch. Spring break was a much needed break. Whether we were relaxing at home or enjoying the nice weather outside, it was great to have some time off before the final quarter. We're finally feeling recharged and ready to take on the rest of the school year. Huge congratulations to our very own Evan Loverol and Selena Dong for being honored at the Orange Ulster BOCES Humanities Awards ceremony. Their hard work and dedication to academics were recognized, and we're so proud of them for representing Cornwall High School so well. Another big shout out goes to Ellen Kramer for being named one of the top 5 finalists at the Poetry Out Loud competition last month. Her performance was incredible, and making it to the top 5 is such an impressive achievement. Congratulations to Christian Green and Hunter Olson for being our All-State winners. They proudly represented our CCHS band at this year's All-State performance, showcasing their talent. In addition, both the band and orchestra are preparing for their spring concerts, with the orchestra preparing a medley of songs from the Disney movie Coco. Spring sports continue to drive forward, with the baseball, softball, track, boys tennis, and lacrosse teams making their Cornwall proud. We can't wait to see what these athletes do as their season progresses. Activities taking place during community lunch are expanding. In addition to playing games in the gymnasium, students can participate in Just Dance in the auxiliary gym. Students finally seem accustomed to lunch and are enjoying their options for activities during the school-wide free period.
Great, thank you very much for that report, ladies. And I will, of course, give the usual. If you have homework or tests or need to leave us, please feel free. But of course, we'd love to have you stay. Next item on our agenda is Superintendent's Update. Terry?
Thank you, Jim. Just wanted to give a few points of thanks. First to John Hines and the CCTA, the feeling's absolutely mutual. I think we made it a concerted decision and effort that things were going to change, and we made some promises with each other, and all of those things came true. So I thank you for your leadership. I see Jane Camacho that was in the room with us. And for everyone, I think it's really important to know that you don't get to this point with just kind of holding hands and everything was in agreement. There was plenty of disagreement, but it's how we disagreed and how we move forward that really mattered. So thank you. Thank you to your association for trusting the process. I just couldn't be more thankful for how things worked out this year. The other point of things I would like to just spend a moment to make is to our UPK providers. So I think it's important to remember that 3 years ago, like Jim said, we had 0 seats. We put out a blanket message that we were seeking providers that would partner with us on this new venture for the school district. We approached Butterhill, we approached Sportsplex, we approached Ivy League of Learning, we approached Arc of Learning, Windsor Academy, our Montessori, Village, Hudson Highlands, you name it. And then Megan and I went on a road tour to meet with each individual provider to discuss what it would take to partner. And the reason I'm thanking our current providers is they took a chance. They face intense scrutiny from the Office of Children and Family Services, and then we were layering on additional requirements that they had to meet to partner with us as a district. So questions were raised about the RFP process. The RFP process was really making sure that the providers could meet all of the regulations expected by the state. It wasn't a ranking or anything of that nature. The initial process was, are you willing to take a chance on us and partner with us? And Arc of Learning, Windsor, and Butterhill said yes. Moving forward, this year was the first time that we added a new provider. As you all know, I have a 3-year and a 4-year-old, so I'm very connected with kind of toddler world. What our parents were asking at the time was, one, to increase the number of providers, but if we could increase our portfolio, let's do that as well. So Sportsplex was the natural choice because Sportsplex offers something that a lot of other providers can't by offering swimming and sports environment. So I wanted to take a moment to just thank our UPK providers. I'm looking forward to the addition of additional seats and potentially expanding. But we've had a close relationship with them. The last thing I'll just speak to is the rates, because we've had kind of competing interests from parents and providers. So the feedback that I was getting from parents is you have to have the lottery as soon as possible, because we need to make decisions as a family with regards to where we're going to place our children for next year. The further we move it towards January is the sweet spot. That does not work for providers. I currently have, again, 2 kids. We sign up for the next year in the spring timeframe where we're solidifying tuition rates that I'm going to pay before and after care. So there's some dissonance there. So I just want to make sure that the public knows that parents have spoken loud and clear that they like our lottery occurring in the early winter months because they need to make decisions as a family. We also have to realize that these directors are running a business, so they have to make decisions based on insurance rates, things of that nature. So that's the dissonance that's in place. Again, I have a chance to speak for our providers. Megan and I met with them. Mr. Fink was in the meeting as well, just to kind of talk about some of the concerns, and they were just able to share from their perspective, just kind of their thoughts on kind of where we are and how we can improve moving forward. So just wanted to take a moment to share some information and points of thanks, and I'll turn it back over to Jim.
Thank you, Terry. Next item on our agenda is the President's update. So I have a few brief points. One is a reminder on the Board of Education scholarship. Thank you, Christian, for emailing that. Just to our board members, this was implemented, I believe, 3 years ago, and we've just asked all board members to contribute $100 annually to that. We do have enough to fund this year's award. Probably next year would be a good time to have a discussion on whether we want to raise that award or open it to 2 students based on the amount of money we have now. But just a reminder, if you plan to donate, please do so soon, and I'll remind myself as well because I'm behind on that. Point number 2, on the negotiation between the CCTA, the administration, I will just echo as somebody who sat in as a neutral observer on that negotiation, and this is something I shared with our board in executive session every time I discussed. I said, we're going to get a deal here because the attitude between both sides is the right attitude. It's a positive collegiality. Everything's, business and not personal, and we're working together. Certainly there were disagreements, but those points were all able to be worked out in a professional manner. So hats off to the administration, the CCTA negotiating team, and really a great result for our district to have a contract renewed prior to its expiration for the first time in recorded memory. So just wanted to echo the sentiments that have already been stated by John and Terry. And a third update for the public. Yesterday I received a resignation of our Board of Education from Tiffany Galliano. She will be, or has been, sworn in as a trustee for the Village of Cornwall and Hudson, filling an open term there that Mayor Kane left in his trustee seat when he became mayor. Her resignation is effective June 30th, so she will serve on both boards until then. Since we are having a regularly scheduled election next month, what that means is there will now be 4 open seats as opposed to 3. The 3 highest vote getters will get 3-year terms, and the 4th highest vote getter will serve the remaining 2 years of Tiffany's term. So just a point of information there for the public. And thank you, Tiffany, for your service here, and we wish you well with the village. That's it for my President's update. Next item up for bids is the consent agenda. We have items 2 through 11. Items 2 through 11. The consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately. So let's move and second this, and then we will pull individual items for discussion. Can I have a motion? Christian? Second? Tiffany? And who would like to pull any of the numbered items 2 through 11?
Jim, number 10 for me, please.
Bass, number 8. Tiffany, you said number 10? Okay, so then we will take a vote on items 2 through 7, number 9, and number 11. So that's 2 through 7, 9, and 11. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. We'll take them in numerical order. Bass, number 8.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, number 8 is about the vote on BOS's board members. They have 3 vacancies, so I don't have any information on that whatsoever. Are we gonna nominate somebody from our district, or do we know who is running,
So we discussed this.
We did nominate. We did make a motion earlier in the year to nominate
Yeah,
the individuals here.
there was 3 people who wanted it for 3 open seats, and we made a motion. I can't tell you exactly what meeting it was in the last 6 weeks or so to nominate,
I don't
and we
have
discussed them.
recollection of that. I might be
Yeah.
preoccupied with something else. Do you mind?
I can talk about some of the
Please.
candidates. I did this earlier when the nomination, but I'm happy to do it again if that's what you're looking for, Bass.
I'd like to know who are.
So Bill Boss has been on the OU BOCES board and on boards of education, I think, going back to the early 1980s. He's currently the vice president of the Orange County School Boards Association. I think, I think, Christine, you've met him as well, and I would say that he is incredibly dedicated for someone who has been on boards longer than perhaps some of us have been alive, and the idea that he does take that job very seriously, and not just for the BOCES, but also I think for all the districts in the county. He originally was served on the Greenwood Lake School Board before he was on the Orange Ulster BOCES board. Edwin Estrada, I believe, is a banker who he can be looked up, but I think it's based in Middletown. He's been on the Middletown board before. He's incredibly active in his community, and I think once again he's someone who comes to every meeting. He has been on the Orange County School Boards Association pretty much every meeting this year. And I don't want to sell David Eaton short. I just don't know him personally, but I think that he has also been a previous member on the OU BOCES board.
Thank you. Thanks. I wonder whether I missed the meeting. Maybe, no?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's like
Quite possible.
I have no recollection whatsoever of this. Thank you very much.
All in favor on item number 8? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. On to item number 10, Village of Cornwall and Hutchin water exemption. Tiffany?
Given that I am now a village trustee, I just pulled it so I could abstain from the vote.
Thank you very much. All in favor on item 10? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Tiffany.
Christian.
And Christian, okay. Great. That is the end of our consent agenda. It moves us to new business. We have 2 items tonight, both linked. Item number 1 in the new business is a budget update from Mr. Fink, and item number 2 is the resolution to approve the contents of said budget, which we have been debating for several months now. Take it away, John. Thank you.
They said they'd never seen me speak before. I said, I've given them so many opportunities this evening to run, and they have yet to run. I don't know where everybody else went. I was excited to present in front of so many people. Well, yeah, I thought this was the pomp and circumstance we talked about in the first meeting, Mr. Hines, but clearly not. Okay, so thank you. It's been a long, strange trip here on the budget. So April 24th today is, as President Cregan said, our budget adoption meeting. So as I've started every single one of our presentations with our vision, we envision a school district in which every staff member is a source of knowledge and inspiration. Every building is a place of safety and support. Every leader is a pillar of integrity, and every student is a source of pride. And I've focused on those sources of pride. We've talked about those sources of pride. You can see the source of pride in the water balloon toss, in the indoor track events, and with those therapy dogs. Maybe we should have a few of them join us here. It would be fantastic just to kind of cruise around. So agenda, I won't read the agenda verbatim, but we're going to kind of go through where we've been and where we are now and where we are going on next steps. So again, we'll take a look at the recap of our proposed budget, our adjusted budget. We'll look at our aid projections and our contingency budget. So the recommended budget, just kind of level setting and walking us back where we've been. We're looking at a budget of $92,721,136, and a recommended revenue of $90,364,425. That left us with a deficit of $2.3 million, approximately. We were looking at a 2.5% property tax levy increase, which would gather us $1.3 million. We had an increase of state aid by about $1 million, and an increase in our miscellaneous revenue lines by about $232,000. So we still had some outstanding items, but this is kind of where we were. Then we jumped into two discussions at the March 24th and the April 7th board meetings, where we were looking at the needs assessment that the district presented in the previous meetings to those. And the board discussed a number of different things, and it came down to really these four items that you see up here. A 1.0 safety monitor at Willow Avenue, a 1.0 early intervention support teacher at Cornwall and Hudson and Willow Avenue. That's a split position. UPK, 20 additional seats, and then we looked at increases to uncertified substitute teacher compensation. So you're looking at a total package of about $271,000. So we take that and we add it into our budget, all right? So that gave us the 25-26 adjusted budget expenditure. That's $92,986,803. I broke it out in all of our different categories. We took a look at this on the recommended budget. So you're seeing the exact same slide, just adjusted with the four additions that we discussed in this previous slide, on slide 5. So salaries, pensions, healthcare, contractual, out-of-district tuition. So some of these items don't change, but some did. Obviously with the salary lines, pension, healthcare, those will change with staffing changes. In the end, your bottom line, $92,986,803. And we compared to last year, we're about $2.7 million budget to budget. During that April 7th Board of Education meeting, discussions were held. There were some options presented. We labeled them affectionately as options A, B, and C. Option A, what do we want to do? We can maintain the recommended 2.5 tax levy increase and increase that amount of assigned fund balance. We could go with option B and increase the tax levy and maintain the assigned fund balance that we had recommended, or option C, split between the two of them. During that board meeting on April 7th, the board elected option C, split it right down the middle. Part of it on the tax levy, part of it adding to that assigned fund balance. The result here, you'll see the bottom line, specifically 2.75% tax levy increase, and an assigned fund balance of 2.489, which brings us to our adjusted budget recap. Looks just like our recommended budget recap slide, with our adjustments on it, obviously. 92,986, 803 is our budget. Our adjusted revenues is 90,497,199, and you see that 2.489,604 for assigned fund balance. Again, our max levy was 3.08. The board has elected or will adopt, or hopefully will adopt here, a 2.75% tax levy increase, which gets us $1.4 million. Our state aid is staying the same. Mr. Cregan bet me unofficially, but didn't bet me unofficially, and we're still waiting for state aid. I'll probably look like Duck Dynasty or something like that by the time they pass their budget. Anyway, and we still have several open items. We have heard today contract negotiations. We are looking at settlements in all three of those contract settlements, which is fantastic, and within the budget and where we are headed in the right direction. What does this look like? Your estimated tax levy, again, fair market value of residence or property for $250,000, $350,000, or $450,000, just giving us some ballparks here for our residents. You're looking at a change of about $227,000 per year, or $318, or $408. Several assumptions, I will call them out loud and clear. 2.75% tax levy increase. We're looking at that assigned appropriated fund balance. You're including your star exemptions. We're careful and always make sure we note there's no change in the town assessed value and no change in equalization rates. We don't have any control of them, and they can change. So again, these are approximations for us. Contingent budget. We've read these slides the past several meetings, okay? So I won't reread these slides again. I will point out on this second one what happens, right? So we need a 0% tax levy. So the tax levy for the 24-25 school year would then become the tax levy for the 25-26 school year, resulting in $1.4 million in cuts that we need to make to our current budget. And all these rules and parameters apply. It's the no fun zone. So let's just put it that way. On that May 20th ballot, you will see a second proposition. That second proposition will be to establish the capital reserve. The district has established two capital reserves prior, Capital Reserve 1, Capital Reserve 2. Capital Reserve 1 has been expensed. Capital Reserve 2, we are looking to apply that money, and we have maxed out that reserve, so hence we are opening up that Capital Reserve number 3 here. We've made it quite the distance here, kind of like a marathon. We're kind of at mile marker 20, right? You're just right there towards the end, and we're just going to go across that finish line. May 6th is our budget hearing, and then that budget vote is that final finish line.
Thank you, John. I'm going to take the first question. I don't know if anybody else will have questions. In light of the fact that New York State has not passed their budget, I know that the state aid figures have not changed from the governor's proposal. The state aid is not, for K through 12, has not been a contentious point in terms of the dollars this year. So we're not expecting any major changes, but two scenarios. What happens if we get more money? What can we do with that, or how is that, where will that go to in the budget line? Because I know it will be too late to add, new expenses or anything, right? And two, if there's less than expected, then where do we pull that money from?
So perfect questions. We addressed them in our last two meetings. I didn't put the slide up here. So what happens if we get more money? So if we get more money, that money is going to fall to our fund balance, right? That fund balance, when I talked about the Cornwall farm with our silos, and that's additional revenue that would come in. At the end of the year, that will go to the fund balance answer, and the fund balance can then fall into our reserves, right? So it will either pay for budget items that were over expended or fall into those reserves and fund balance. Same question, the other side of it. What happens if we receive less? We have that fund balance to rely upon in order to make up for that difference. and that's how we would solve that problem.
So essentially, we'd solve the problem. We have the 4% that that would become 3.98% or something.
Correct.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other questions for John? All right. Thank you very much for that. So on to the resolution. Resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education of the Cornwall Central School District does hereby approve the following for the 25-26 school year. The Cornwall Central School District proposed budget in the sum of $92,986,803, which represents a 3.02% increase over the 2024-25 school year budget and will be placed on the ballot at the annual budget vote to be held on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. And number 2, that the Cornwall Central School District property tax report card, which represents a $1,444,371 proposed tax levy, which is 2.75% greater than the prior year's levy. I'm going to ask for a motion in a second, and I will leave this open for comments if anybody would like to make a comment before we take a vote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Brendan, a second. Tiffany, and would anybody like to make a comment? Tiffany.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think something very important that our superintendent stated in his opening comments was how we disagree that matters. And it's important to me that you understand, and those of you on virtually and as well as those of you in the room, I oppose this budget, and I will be voting no. But let me tell you my why and the reason why that I disagree. I have been a vocal advocate and supporter for this teacher contract, and anybody at this table, I doubt they would be able to disagree and be an honest broker. In fact, when I considered my resignation date, one of the factors in that resignation date was to make sure that the teacher contract was passed. I ran on that, and 3 of our children are teachers. It's very important to me, nonetheless. I have voted, my voting record is I have voted for increases when they have been proposed to us for various staff and educators. Also want to make sure that everyone understands that I am a UPK supporter. I have a grandson that will be eligible next year in this district. Both of his parents are teachers. I think the only thing that I ever said was, I don't want to pay for seats that we don't use. And I think that that's the only fiscally responsible thing to say when you're a fiduciary for this district. So please don't think for a second that I don't support either of those things. However, the totality of the budget, though I appreciate all of the hard work that our administration, who I value and respect, has put into this, I just can't support this tax levy at this time under these economic conditions for the members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Tiffany. Would any other board members like to make a comment? Bass?
Thanks, Jim. And bluff, as we say in the Army, I'm going to vote no on the budget tonight. But again, as Stephanie went with, I want to explain for everybody here in this room, everybody's watching us tonight on YouTube, or everybody's going to watch us on YouTube sometime down the road. I support teachers, and I'm going to come back to this in my second point. And by supporting the teachers, we were briefed all along during the negotiation that went between the administration and the teachers union, and I was very pleased, as pretty much everybody mentioned tonight, with how the negotiation went, and I was very pleased with the results. And therefore, I'm officially saying that I'm supporting the teachers' contract, and that stems from the fact that I do support teachers as a member of the board. I do support universal pre-K as well. I do remember when my kids were in that age, 3, 4 years old, I used to pay $1,000 a month, and it was very tough on us. We didn't have universal pre-K, and I know exactly where the parents are coming from. I do support funding, schools making the universal pre-K work. But again, meeting after meeting, we had our superintendent explaining why it is on everybody's wish list, but there are realities that Mr. Dade went through meeting after meeting after meeting. And I believe in everything that Mr. Dade mentioned. Add to that the fact that, the economic situation of the United States of America is not doing well right now. We came out of a recession that started right when COVID started, and government was printing checks and throwing them to everybody who can catch them. The deficit of the United States right now is around $35 trillion. The United States will never be able to pay back that debt. We're thinking about our children. Let's think about them when they're going to be 30, 40 years old. We might go bankrupt. Okay, and this is why we're not seeing checks coming from the government to help us like they used to help us before the new administration came in. I don't want to go in political speech right now, but everybody knows if you go, like me, to the supermarket, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The last thing I want to ask our constituents to do is to ask them to pay more taxes. And that's why, bottom line, I'm going to vote no on the budget. Now, I like to go back to, and I'm going to close this. I think I heard tonight in the public comments a note that we have to think about who's our priority when we vote our budget. I can tell you right now, I don't need to wait. Right now, my priority is every single one of the 5 following categories I'm going to go through. My priority is the students. So check mark on that. I mean, that was the question. But again, my priority is the parents. My priority is the teachers. My priority is the non-teaching staff. My priority, category number 5, is the taxpayers. We have taxpayers who have their children already graduated for the system. They're paying taxes. They're not, you can say they're not getting anything back in return. So that's my answer to the priority question. My priority question is every single one of our stakeholders, and I explained who those are. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bass. Christian.
I wasn't planning on speaking on this, but I think that those comments at least lead a countervailing perspective, and it's not really to push back on that. There's a biblical parable about a father who asked her 2 sons to do something. The first one says, yes, I'll do it, and then doesn't go out and do what the task was. The second one says to the father, go take a hike, but then thinks better about it, and then goes and does it. And the question that was at the end of that is that which one did the father's will? And clearly the answer always was the second one. So part of supporting something is also supporting the expenditures that support that item. And I'm not sure that, at least for me, I don't think I could do either way. No one's going to support everything that's in any budget, whether it's a federal budget, a state budget, a school budget, local budget. But we agreed to it as a group, and that is why I'm supporting the budget, not because I got my way, but because we had a discussion, and I think we came to a conclusion. But looking at this budget, just what created the tax levy? Well, the first item is the safety monitor. We all know, we can go back and look at the tape about who asked and supported that. the universal pre-K. We had that discussion. We had a lot of different opinions on it. Substitute teacher pay, that's $15,000. And then the contracts that supposedly we support. And so if I support those items, I need to support the expenditures for that. And as Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. said a long time ago, former Supreme Court Justice, also an officer in the Civil War, he says, taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society. And I could talk about the economics, about tax and debt and disagree, and I respect that perspective, but I think you either have to say if you support these things, you have to also support what it costs to do that. And that's why I'm going to support this budget. And I'm not going to advocate. I think everyone here is a smart, capable, thoughtful person, and I respect everyone's decision. But I think that is why we're paying for it, because the alternative is to have what we want and then put it on the metaphorical credit card for someone else to pay. And really, if you want to have control over our education, we have to be willing to spend it. 25 years ago, 80% of the Cornwall school budget was supported by local revenues. Today, it's below 60%. And that's because state, federal money has made up for what we're not raising locally. And over the past few years, the increase in foundation aid has been a greater percent increase than the increase in the local tax levy. And if we do that, what eventually is going to happen is we're going to lose control over our schools, because the people who are going to pay the bills are going to insist on having a school according to whatever their perspective is. And whether that is you are concerned about a woke, liberal Albany state government, or you're concerned about a conservative Trump education policy, it means it takes it out of our hands. And the more that we spend, the more control we have. And I think that is worth spending for. And I'll leave it at that, with no judgment to anyone, but to say, look, I think that it's worth spending. We've had the discussion, and I'm happy to vote for it.
Thank you, Christian. Any other comments? I'll make a brief comment along the same line as Christian. I too will support the budget. I think you raised a few important points, which I'll re-highlight in sort of my own way. And one is, and I've said this in past budgets and probably said it in this budget, but not everybody gets what they want. And you said not everybody gets what they want in a federal, state, local budget. If you're married, you don't get everything you want in your household budget either. So it's important to know that there are trade-offs, and that's why we went through how many meetings bringing us up to tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 meetings bringing us up to tonight to have vigorous debate and discussion on what those priorities were. And that's how we came to where we're at tonight and prepared to vote on it. So,
Jim, can I offer just one additional perspective?
Please.
Because I think it's a little bit of a weird year where the tax levy does seem to be going up more than in just the most recent years. But we're actually not adding that much to our budget. The bulk of that is really in our rollover budget. And it's from the baked-in costs that everybody's paying. And last month, the inflation rate was 2.7% in the U.S., and this is a 2.75%. It might end up being 2.7 once the final state aid figures come in. So I think that we're all dealing with the same inflationary and economic headwinds that I say we as the district are dealing with, the same ones that individuals are, certainly not immune to it. And I think in the context of that, this budget is very responsible. And although the tax levy number is going to be the thing that most people focus on, the underlying budget is really not much greater in terms of staffing and et cetera than it was last year, and certainly not the same kind of year-over-year increases we've seen before.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll finish and then I'll kick to you.
I thought you were done, sorry.
I'm never done. No. No, I wanted to echo Christian's point as well of, if you support the budget, you have to support the money to pay for it. It's kind of, it doesn't make sense to me to say I support all of these items and then not to appropriate the funds to do so. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to point out, if you go to the contingency budget, which is a tax levy at 0%, so if this budget is voted down, and yes, you can reconfigure it and go back out for a second vote, but if we have to adopt a contingency budget, required reductions are $1,444,000. And what that's going to look like when the rubber meets the road is going to be 13 to 15 teachers losing their jobs, and students, teachers, staff, and students not getting education. So that's what it's going to look like if we go to a contingency budget.
But that's worst case scenario, Jim, in fairness. As you said, there could be a second vote on a modified budget. And just because you support certain things in the budget, it doesn't mean that you support the totality of the expenditures. So yes, you can pick and choose, and you can say, yes, I support the teacher contract, and yes, I support UPK, but I don't support all of these other line items. So I don't think it's fair to lump a decision to vote no into a category. It says, well, if you're supporting these things, then you have to vote for the whole thing. And yes, I agree with Christian. There are some things that you're not always going to like in a budget, and that's a fair assessment. However, you can support certain things in a budget and not support the totality of the other expenditures, just in fairness and for clarification to the audience.
That is true. However, if you're proposing adding things and you don't want to increase the tax levy to fund those things, you need to make cuts. Would
Or
you
you
need
can
to make?
eliminate other things.
Would you need to make 1,440,000 in cuts? But you would need to cut
So I can
staff and
support the
positions.
teacher contract, and I can support UPK and say that I don't support other things. And in fairness, that doesn't mean it's an addition. We need to have a teacher contract. UPK is the way of the future. But doesn't mean that I support all of the other items within the budget. So that's all I'm trying to say, in fairness, that it's not a generalization as some of you are making it seem.
Okay, so I'll just finish my comment by saying, with the robust process and discussion that we've had here, I support the budget that we have all discussed and come to a consensus on, and I hope that a majority of us do. Eleonora.
So I had not planned to speak on this, but as Christian said, with the conversation going, I feel I needed to add, yes, we've been discussing this for weeks, and there is no perfect budget for everyone. Not everyone is going to agree with everything that's on the budget. But I'm hearing a lot of conversation about inflation and prices going up. And yes, you go to the store now and a dozen eggs are $7. You know, I remember paying $2 for a gallon of milk, and now you're paying $5. Well, wouldn't it just go with the expenditures that's also going to happen in our schools? And we're investing this money into our students. And so in order to have these programs, to have the extra seats for the UPK, to have the extra security, prices will go up. And we seem to be forgetting that, you know, we go to the store and we just say, oh, well, these are the prices we have to pay now. But yet we're arguing over increasing a small percentage to invest in our students, to invest in our school district. So I will be voting yes. I do support our budget, and I may not agree with everything that's in it, but it's important that we have to pay for an education, and this is part of it.
Thank you, Eleonora. Bass.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I'm speaking for the second time tonight as a rebuttal to what you basically provide us with. I mean, I noticed your hand gesture towards me when you said you can't support the teachers, you can't support PK, and not support funding it. I saw you doing it maybe subconsciously, but that's fine. That's why I'm rebutting what your point. Yes, I do support the teachers. Yes, I do support pre-K, right? But I do not support the tax levy increases, because since like the first time we started debating, I said, you know, psychologically, let's keep it at 1.9, which is very close to 2.0, but I'd rather put it at 1.9, and that is to explain further that I already mentioned, like the first time I spoke, that I don't want to increase the tax levy by even nothing. But again, if you look, there was a table we saw during the first meeting of the budget, like the last 6 years or maybe 10 years, how kind of we went up and down, and I did kind of like an average kind of, mentally, and kind of it looked like, two wouldn't be too much, and psychologically, so we don't hit everybody with 2.0, I said I'm willing to approve 1.9. So the results of what the whole discussion now after all those 6 debates we had was to go 2.75. That's why, just looking at 2.75, I cannot approve that. Now, you mentioned, and Tiffany pointed to that as well, saying that I approve the idea of supporting the teacher and increasing their salaries by 1.396 K, but not approving funding it. I can tell you, no, that's a wrong way to put it altogether. Yes, I do support that increase for the teachers. I'm willing, kind of originally my idea of like not supporting pre-K at all, increasing the number of seats, and we increased them from 10 to 20. Many were pleased with that. I don't approve that. I did not approve that like for this year, hoping that the economic situation would improve later. But again, tonight I took the opportunity of speaking to say, don't get the wrong idea about me and pre-K. I do support pre-K, universal pre-K, as an idea because I suffered from it personally. I know exactly how it feels like, right? So what does that mean? It means that I will send Mr. Fink and everybody back to the drawing board to reshuffle everything, right? Nobody was willing to do that. And that's why I said, like, I'm going to vote no tonight. I don't know what's going to happen. I think we heard, 2 or 3 people supporting. But again, I would ask, like, to your point, supporting those ideas and supporting the budget means like I'm rejecting everything. No, I'm not rejecting everything. Are you willing to go back to the drawing board? Maybe you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Bass. Christian.
This is sort of piggybacking on what you're saying before. What would change if the budget fails is not just the positions and what we spend on our teachers. It also changes, and Mr. Fink, if you could just correct me because I didn't plan to think about this, so I didn't check this, is that it also changes what we charge for the very different entities that use our facilities, which means all the PTO drama productions that use our auditoriums and our spaces, the youth sports leagues that use our fields. We would have to charge them the full cost of that, not the cost that we actually charge them right now. So that would not only means a lot of other costs would go up in our community because of all the different uses of our facilities that are used by non-school entities. So I'm not saying that's the worst thing, but I mean, that's kind of also in the background because that's what's built into a contingency budget. And Mr. Fink, is that roughly accurate of what would happen?
That's correct. And all district, another big one is all district field trips would be eliminated. So parents would pay the full brunt of all trips whatsoever. So that includes transportation costs
and the things that are not mandated, which would include kindergarten still, would be...
That's not a contingent budget cut,
yes.
but that can be considered as a reduction of your budget if you want.
Thank you. And the second thing that, look, once again, this is not something I was planning on mentioning, but since we're talking about the small things that we're increasing in our budget in terms of our new programs, one of the biggest budget-to-budget increases is the roughly $110,000 more we're going to pay for water in next year's budget because the prices were increased on us. And so the point is, we're not because we're using more water, it's because basically we had a price increase that no other entity is paying for more or less the same.
Do you want to get into that, Christian? Because we can have that debate.
I
Because
would
that's
love
not
to get into
factually
it, but
accurate.
we can get into it
You were
here.
offered a deal and you declined it, and that's part of the reason why. So I think that that's another discussion.
I think I still have the time.
Go ahead, Christian.
So $110,000 increase, as you can see by looking at the budget, is approximately equivalent to a teaching position. And whether there was a deal or not a deal, if you were a county, if you were a public utility, and you increase that on one user and not others, okay, that would be the basis of, there would be major litigation about that. The reason why is the village law doesn't cover that, so it lets them do whatever they want, because no one would think that a village would do that to its own citizens. But the point is, it's not just other people, it's also because on school taxes, if you live in the village, if you live in a higher assessed house, you're paying more of that through the school tax. But the point is, that's one of the expenditures that's in this budget, even though it's not one of the items, it's one of the increases in the rollover budget. So the point is, these are things that increase. Our expenses increased, we have to pay for them. And that's why we're going to have to levy people more. And I'm not necessarily unhappy that money is going toward water infrastructure. I think a lot of people will benefit from that. But the point is, it looks like an increase in terms of what the school is paying or school is spending as opposed to a different entity. So the point is, there's a lot of things in the budget. And we could go through line by line and all the details, okay? And there's a lot of other things. For example, the district meeting went up by, and I realize part of this is because we're having the capital project vote in the fall, so we're doubling that. There's a lot of little items there. And we could go line by line, and some of this would probably make our meetings 4 or 5 times as long. And yes, I'm sure in any budget of millions of dollars, there are things that are inefficiencies or things that could be done better. But the reason why we do these budgets this way is because we're respecting the decisions of past things about what we want for our education. And that's why, once again, I support the tax levy that comes out of the discussion that we all had over the past few months.
Thank you. Christine.
I want to respond to something, I don't know who said it, forgive me, but around go back and rework it. I think that this board has been extremely responsible and doesn't take lightly increasing the tax levy at all. I don't think that any one of us wants to have our taxes increased, but it is sort of, the reality right now. And we are not just, I'm not supporting this budget without any compassion or recognition that this creates, an increase for homeowners or for, folks in the school district. But it's just not a place where I'm willing to pinch my pennies. I think it's too important that we are investing the money in the things that we need to, that we're keeping our staff, that we are keeping our programs. And I'm not suggesting that anyone else is saying we shouldn't keep them, but you can't have both sometimes. So I support the budget. I hope the public recognizes that this board took this very seriously. We spent, I think Dr. Meyer had us timed at an hour for some things, and we spent a good amount of time debating little bits of money. I don't think we take it lightly. So I'm proud of the way this board, went through this and really looked under, every nook and cranny that we could, and I will be supporting the budget.
Thank you, Christine. All right, I think it is time to take a vote. We have read the resolution, and we have moved and seconded it. So all in favor, aye. And somebody raise their hands just so I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ayes. Nay? Tiffany and Bass. There will be no abstentions because that is 9 total. So that motion, or that resolution, passes, and that will be what we see on the ballots on May 20th. So thank you to our board for that vote. Thank you to John for all of your hard work and your presentations and working us through this process. That brings us to public comment round number 2. If anybody would like to make a comment, please come and take the microphone.
As predicted. I'm a doctor, I like to talk. So Dr. Kate Mazar, speaking for the second time. I made a couple of notes, just wanted to respond a couple of things. Idea here, perhaps providers can provide transparency on the previous year's rates to help parents make decisions when ranking. Also, they could probably provide a rough percentage. It could be a range, just on roughly what that increase might look like, just to give us a chance. It was mentioned earlier that preschool was about $1,000 back when it was paid per month. Just a news flash, we have providers here that are charging $26,865 a month or a year. The range in costs for average pre-K are $13,000 a year to $26,865. If we look at the same hours for preschool, what we're looking at before and after care, for those same hours annually with summer care, we're looking at an additional $9,000 to $12,000 that parents are paying. So roughly $1,000 a month in before and after care plus summer care on top of what the school district is paying for those seats. Just to give an idea in terms of increases. Second thing, as we increase in our schools, we also see increases in our home values, and especially since our schools are now falling in rankings by about 30 spots in the last 2 years in state rankings, and in our national rankings, we've fallen about 2,000 spots. We're now at 2,000, I believe, 600 and change in rankings. When we bought the house, it was 1,200. So just something to think about, because I know that we need to think about the quality of the education and making sure that that's also reflected, because that's also in our home values. The other thing that I want to put on your radar regarding the RFP is that there are NICEAD regulations when it comes to making decisions and how those are made. We're eager. We know that several providers who have been told no in the past are eager to find out why. And then also with the state budget coming up, I would love to find out if with the grant for full day pre-K comes available again, since it is not need-based, if we could apply for those extra funds, that would provide up to $10,000 per certified teacher, $7,000 for uncertified. That's per kid with those kinds of teachers. And then also whether or not the school district would be open to doing what other school districts around the entire state have done, which is adding quality stars standards for increasing the quality of our pre-K. And then the last and final thing is, while I love swimming and would love swimming to be a part of UPK, the core of this is academics. Thank you.
Please, thank you.
I'm sorry, I said Dr. Meyer before Dr. Miser. Is that correct? Miser, okay, thank you. Mizar.
Would anybody else like to regale us with your thoughts? All right, thank you, everybody. The last item here is closing comments from the board. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go inside out, and I'm going to ping pong. So we'll start with Bass, and then Brendan, and go back and forth. Bass. Bass, you pass?
I let Brendan take it first.
You
Brendan.
ping-ponged it to me. Very unexpected honor. Thank you, both Bass and Jim, for that. Yeah, I mean, just to underscore a lot of what was said, first to the CCTA and John, thank you for the leadership, but then also articulating just the journey. I think that it's really valuable to know, to remind everybody when things do improve, and so we can double down and keep doing that. So thank you for that. And of course, thank you to, on both sides, all the work that went into that successful negotiation, and then we'll hold off the confetti until things are finalized. But certainly, it was a lot of hard work on both sides, so appreciate it, all of that. And then similarly for this budget process, John, our John, I think it's all our John. I think we all know. Our Johns. Mr. Fink, John F., like we're in kindergarten. To John F., dear John F., fantastic work. Kept us on track, and it was with humor and clarity. So appreciate it. I think we ended up at a solid spot, and now the march to May 20th. May 20th. May 20th begins.
May 20th.
Yeah, and finally to Tiffany, I think we're catching us off guard with this announcement today. There will be nice things to say in the future, but for now, I will just say congratulations. You have been an asset to this board. Sorry to lose you, but our loss is COH Town Board's gain. So,
Bass.
Thanks, Jim. First thing is, as I mentioned earlier, we were always board members briefed. They kept us in the light on how the negotiations were going. And I can tell everybody now in public here, public meeting, that I was very pleased with what I heard about how the negotiations were led by the CCTA president, John. That was very pleasing to hear, and I'm glad that we reached kind of, the good results in a record time. I mean, Mr. Date told us that, the meeting 0 was in February and in April. So that was great news indeed. And kudos to you, John, and to everybody you represent, because we know the president goes back and has all the negotiations and right, okay, but during the negotiation period, right? I mean, you weren't speaking for yourself; you're speaking for every single, member of your association. So kudos to everybody there, and of course to our administration. We're proud of having an administration like what you represent. That was great to have. Second is Tiffany. I told Tiffany in person, I mean, we're gonna lose her on the board. I emphasize the word lose. I mean, that's gonna be a loss for us. But at the same time, I wish her the best in everything she decides to do. And congratulations on being appointed on the village board. I'd rather finish stop here. I mean, not talk more. I mean, because remember, I mean, I talked twice about the budget, so I think there's no need to add to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bass. Eleonora.
I'd like to start by congratulating all of the students that we talked about this evening from are they still here? Thank you. Both academic, musically, our drama club, and our wonderful high school girls there who did a great job telling us all about the good news that's going on in our school. I want to also wish them all well with finals coming up and state testing coming up. So I wish all of the teachers good luck in keeping the students from falling asleep on those papers. And to the students, I wish them well in doing well on the exams. Congratulations to our negotiating teams, both sides. Great job in getting it done, and we are all extremely pleased. And I'm very happy that our budget passed. And John, next time you want an audience, you could have just let me know. I would have asked them all to stay for you. I mean, I have a little clout with the teachers. I could have gotten them to stay if you really wanted that audience. You might be surprised. Maybe they just left anyway. I know, seriously. And congratulations also to Tiffany. We wish you well in your new venture.
Thank you, Eleonora. Tiffany.
So I want to start out by showing appreciation for Mr. Fink in his references to both the Grateful Dead and Duck Dynasty this evening. It was very impressive. Again, I'll reiterate what our superintendent said and how we disagree that matters. It's okay to disagree and do it in a professional, intelligent, and articulate way. And I find that my time on this board, and I know I still have a few more months, and I value it, we've been majority of the time been able to do that. And I've come to appreciate and know some of the members of this board, which some of them surprised me. I didn't think that I would have such great respect, and I do, and I really value them, and you're lucky to have them. Also going to mention that we have the budget and board elections coming up on May 20th. Which I now know well because I asked Megan earlier, and then it was presented to us 5 times, so if I had just read ahead. But I will throw it out there that I will be wholeheartedly, publicly supporting Mr. Cardy. He has such a value added to this board, and I respect him immensely and his opinions and what he has to say, and as well as Mr. Chakra, I will be supporting wholeheartedly as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Richard.
All right, thank you. So first, I just want to, again, congratulate the negotiation teams. I want to thank Terry, Megan, John, all the administrators, and the teachers union team led by John. It just seemed like you were very collaborative. You guys were able to sit down, disagree at times, but in the end, you came to a conclusion and you got it done in a great way. So congratulations and thank you. I also just want to commend everyone who was involved with the budget process. From the public's view, it seems like a very short amount of time that we're actually, talking about it, 3 months. But really, it starts, in like July? It's a year-long process for our admin team. So I just want to commend you. And I'm proud of the process that we had and the discussions we had. And thank you. With that, have a great night.
Thank you, Richard. Carl.
Congratulations, Tiffany. I really don't want to see you go, but good luck, okay? John, I want to thank you for all the work you did with the budget. It was a great job, and I'm proud of this whole unit today. Terry and John, they're the ones I really got to reach out to. You guys did an awesome job working together. You sat at the table. I was able to sit there while you were doing your negotiations, and the rumors that you had heard in the past just weren't happening. So, John, I want to thank you and your crew. And Terry, I don't have to thank all of you, as I did that earlier today. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you did. And that's it.
Thank you, Carl. Christian.
So 3 things. The first thing, to Ms. Galliano, I will just say that I will remember that you were the critical vote that voted for the increase in substitute pay back in December, and not everyone did. And I think that reflects, what your values are and what's important to you, and I will take that, and I will leave it at that because we will have our differences here and there. The second thing is, what does a good policy look like? And one of my former teachers, Paul Pearson, said a good policy is one not designed from the top down where you try to get the perfect policy and then you pass it. It's a policy you pass and then people learn they like it and then they get snooty and they ask for more and they want it to improve. And the reason why good policies become good policies is not because bureaucrats or politicians or whatever are geniuses and come up with the right idea. It's because the public kind of pushes them to do the right thing. And I would say that's kind of what we're seeing now with UPK. At first, we're just happy to have it because, hey, I have a seat, it's better than no seat, and people are just thankful to get the seat. And then now you have the seat, and now they're like, well, I want this seat, but also I want you to improve the quality of the program, and I want you to maybe add these extra services. And it's important to remember that that's how high school and kindergarten got started in education, that wasn't part of education 50, 60, 70 years ago. People learned that kindergarten actually was really valuable, and instead of going from no kindergarten, they went to half-a-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten because they started to see the value and they were willing to pay for it. And it's important to remember that American education used to be really K through 8, and high school was kind of like, say, the way that we look at college today. And then people realized that, high school is pretty important for having those skill sets and those 4 extra years, and budgets increased and paid for it. And, my hope is what we see right now is that process by, even when people are being perhaps, asking for too much or being unreasonable, that is the process by which policies get better and which good policies stay, and I encourage that process. And lastly, just about budgeting. I was reading a book that just came out this month called The Last Bake Sale, which is about school funding. And a quote from it is, "School funding is a story of how we treat our children, but it's also the story of how we treat our democracy." And it reminded me of a book I read a long time ago by a political scientist named Aaron Vidalski about the politics of the budgetary process, which came out in 1964 when everyone was studying exciting things like the civil rights movement and the war in Vietnam. Aaron Vidalski spent his time watching how budgets were made. You would think that's not what you would be doing during that period of time, but he basically said, well, he looked at all these budgets and said there's 2 types of budgets. There's a democratic budget, and then he calls it like there's an administrative budget. The Democratic budget is a lot of horse trading and compromise and deal making, and everyone doesn't like it because it seems unseemly and how the sausage is being made. And the administrative budget has all these charts and data and projections and things of that sort. But he made several empirical observations. The Democratic budgets were always on time. They always matched revenues to expenditures pretty much. That they actually grew slower, which means that the increase in budgets over time was at a slower rate. And the last thing, what came out of it is they had more legitimacy because people trusted them because they saw the process. And they understood the trade-offs and the deals and whatever was a compromise and everyone was behind it because everyone gave something in those deals, which means you didn't get what you wanted, but you got what you wanted most in the discussion. And the administrative budgets were always late. They increasingly became unbalanced. They grew faster, and no one was happy with them. And it's important to kind of remember that, budgets that kind of look ugly in their process of making them are actually the budgets that we supposedly want when we talk about the ideal budget. And I think that's what we did over the last few months, and I think that the community will support it.
Thank you, Christian. Christine?
Going last is hard because I feel like I'm repeating everything that's been said, but if I don't say it, then people think I don't think it, so I have to say it. So congratulations to the administration, to the CCTA. You really set an example for, how people should work together through difficult processes where there might not always be agreement, but there can be respect and camaraderie. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, and I look forward to celebrating the final stamp, so to speak. Mr. Fink, thank you. I am not a numbers person, so I always go into this like, oh, I'm going to ask a question that I should know, but you did such a fantastic job, and you're filling big shoes, and you really just did it seamlessly, so thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Tiffany, I can see why the mayor scooped you up. We're going to have a talk with him later, but we'll miss you, and I'm sure we'll have our soliloquies later before you leave. But congratulations to everyone involved in Once Upon a Mattress, another terrific performance. I'm always amazed that we have a live pit band playing instruments, like the full-on music. It's mind-blowing to me every time. I start to tear up in the audience. I don't even have a kid in it, and I'm like crying for the pit band. And then Madeline and Ava, I think I saw your announcements about your decision day on the CCH decision, Florida and Villanova. Am I remembering correctly? So congratulations. And it's not Florida. What is it specifically? It's not Florida. Jacksonville. Okay. Really enjoy these last couple months. These are like the really special moments that they only happen once, so enjoy them and have a great time.
Thank you, Christine. What did you say? If I don't
If I
say
don't say it, no one thinks I think it.
No one thinks I think it. I think most of the people out here think that I don't think, so I will yield my time, and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you all very much. We will see you on Tuesday, May 6th, so you can enjoy a taco on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th.